Hello, people. Hello, everybody. We're live. We're live streaming. We're streaming live on YouTube, the Harris Football YouTube channel. I'm joined for the first time in video form this summer by one Mr. Jim McCormick. Hello, Jim.
I was told by my agent that there'd be no live streaming, but I'm all about breaching contracts, so let's do it.
Can you imagine if we had to deal with each other's agents? I don't have an agent. I would love to have an agent.
I mean, my agent is really working hard on not doing much for me, so but that's okay.
All right. Well, this is an experiment to see if you all viewing this like it live and then also after the fact. We're of course going to find, if you're watching this in arrears, if you're watching this after we've done the recording, hi, thank you for watching. We're going to be coming to you Thursday nights in the preseason, and then we think we're going to live stream them all, but we'll see how it goes. And our main topic will be something DraftKings related, because DraftKings is sponsoring us, and we're very, very grateful. And I'll talk a little bit more about DraftKings as we get going. But you know what? It's live, and Jim and I also know a lot about fantasy, so like, you can ask questions about whatever you want. You can ask questions about why I'm so sweaty. It's a funny story.
It's the new kickoff rule. That's what it is. So.
Ask about the new kickoff rule, and Jim will get out the rule book. Nominally, though, we are here to talk over/under team win totals in the NFL, and we're each going to pick three bets and lines and odds that we like, and we're going to go through them and talk about them a little bit and decide whether we agree strongly or disagree or whatever. And so while producer Dave, thank you for being here, producer Dave, is culling some of folks' questions, we'll start talking. And frankly, if you want to know about team totals, ask us questions about that too. But Jim, we'll go back and forth. So why don't you tell me, you can tell me if you're like, this is your most confident, your least confident.
This is the one that I probably put the most time into. I'll say that. I don't know if it's the most confident, but it's the one that I've had the least amount of reservation with so far.
Okay.
That would be the Colts over 8.5 wins. It's kind of bold because they have essentially a rookie quarterback, right? Like, still, there's no track record with this quarterback, but I just think Steichen, the coach, is a kind of a maximizer of offense, and he's going from, I would assume, an upgrade, I would hope, from Gardner Minshew to Anthony Richardson.
I'm wondering, is there a connection between Shane Steichen and any teams that you root for?
Yeah, there is. Broke my heart. He left. Jalen Hurts has looked like, I guess, Jalen Hurts since he left us. But Steichen he just maximized. Look, they won 9 games last year. I think they can, obviously, it's a little bit tougher schedule. The AFC South is tougher. But I just honestly, I think between the offensive line, also they've been hitting these last few drafts. They're a super athletic team. I think they have a recipe to do this, even if Richardson isn't great. I just think they have formula. If he is great, then I think their ceiling is pretty high, I think, for an 8.5 win total team.
I have seen that pick a lot. I've seen people saying that. Do you happen to know what the odds are on that? What the juice is?
I think it's like minus 135. But let me confirm that. So
pretty high on DraftKings. I'm gonna have one that's higher though, so like I'm not criticizing that. I've seen it, and I don't know if I believe it because it is a rookie quarterback, and also you lose your sack guy, your leading sack. He's out for the year. Although you drafted the dude who some people thought was the best defensive player in this draft in Latu, and he should get a chance to slide right in and see if he can play right away. I think if I were on a side there, it'd be the over, but I'm a little scared. I think Houston is such a popular pick. I mean, man, we're gonna do player props at some point, but CJ Stroud is co-second favorite to be MVP with Josh Allen.
That's pretty wild.
That's aggressive.
I've seen him. He's been to like a lot of parties this year. A lot of he's wearing like white linen a lot this summer. So you can overdo that. You can overdo that, by the way.
I don't know what that means, but I like it.
He's at like summer beach parties, like windy parties, like just. And I'm not even being a radio guy. Like, he's not throwing footballs, but he's not throwing footballs. He's at windy parties.
Hey everybody, it's a windy party here in Houston, KFOH. All right, I'll do my. I don't know if it's most. Yeah, maybe it's my most confident. The one I think I like the most. I'm going to be a party pooper and say Raiders under 6.5. It's plus 110, so it's the juice is hanging right there in the middle. Who's the quarterback? And I just don't know.
Shane Steichen. No
And
Shane
no,
Steichen.
really, right. There's like a checkbox next to all 32 teams, and everybody's an X except the Colts have a check on that category. I don't really believe it, and I have to say I don't have the Chiefs over, but if I was picking that one, I probably would pick over. If I was picking the Chargers, I might pick them over. I don't, what I'm trying to say is, like, I think the division. We'll see about Justin Herbert, but I think the division is good, and then that division crosses over with the AFC North, and we don't know anything. But there are good quarterbacks in the NFC North, at least two of them. So I just 6.5 seems like an awful lot for the Raiders to me.
Yeah, I actually had this on my, just missed the cut list. Okay. I went through it and I was like, there's so many things the public are going to like about this team. Like the coach thing, which there's no bounce afterwards. Like that's only, I don't even know. I guess there's some in-season bounce to a firing, but not really. It's just really cool chanting, and they smoked a lot of cigars last year. But the problem is that like they have no cornerbacks. They didn't fix anything, and they actually lost offensive linemen somehow, which is hard to do when you don't have an offensive line. Like the Giants poached their offensive line, which is bad. Yeah, I had this too. I just it's tough too because I think it's not that tough of a number to get to, but they can be bad. Like going after the number one pick bad. So
it's definitely not that tough of a number to get to, but yeah. Like the more I think about that team, the more I think, oh, I get it. I get what they were trying to do. They basically did everything they could try to do to get a quarterback, to get one of the 6 guys. Couldn't, and then said, all right, cool. You know what we're gonna do is like build everything else, and then next year is for the quarterback. Because there's no chance either of these two guys is the quarterback of a good team. Like no chance. So it's not that they're not going to try, but yeah, I feel like the under is the way to go there. If folks are just joining us now, if you saw the link on social media, hi, thank you for being here. If you have any questions on YouTube, just throw them in the chat there, and producer Dave Pyper will tee them up for me to read. In the meantime, I'll take a second and thank DraftKings for sponsoring us. And if you're looking maybe for a place to play some NFL futures, you could try the DraftKings app. I think by now everybody knows that we're sponsored by the DraftKings Sportsbook. We appreciate them very much. And they have a deal going on right now in honor of the Olympics, where if you download the DraftKings app, use the code HarrisTube, that will qualify you to make one $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets in your account instantly, and you can spread it around. Like if you're watching the Olympics, you're looking for a reason to be watching fencing at 1 a.m, probably a replay, but you don't know who won. I guess you can't bet on it then. But still, if you're watching midday, let's say, you pick someone, please don't bet a lot because you don't know anything about fencing, and neither do I. But like $5 just to make it fun. I'm in Massachusetts right now. I have done this for the Olympics. I have done it where I'm like, sure, I'll just root for this total stranger, $5, let's go. And it makes me care what happens. All we really ask is that you use the code HarrisTube, all one word. It would help us out. It lets them know that sponsoring works. And of course, they have the NFL futures that we're talking about right now. So thank you so much, DraftKings, for sponsoring. All right, Jim, let's get to your second.
This would be my chalky pick. It's just covered in chalk. It's like a LeBron celebration. It's the Bears over. It's juiced. It's juiced to minus 150. It's ridiculous. It's the public. It's embarrassing.
Wow.
But really, it's because of the defense. I just think this defense is really good. That back seven is incredible. I love talking about back sevens. It's really a great group, though. It is. They kept them together, which was surprising. There was this idea they were going to get rid of some of those guys. They re-signed Johnson in the corner. They're just good. I think it's a good football team. I think the rookie could be not even that great, and I think Williams could be just okay. And they could still get to this number. I think they can get to 9 wins. Yeah, and it's really public of me.
It is very public. Yeah, I didn't pick it. I wouldn't probably bet it. But if you forced me to say what side I was on, I'm pretty sure it would be under. But I've definitely seen a lot of movement towards over. But man, we're really saying? I mean, we're basically saying Caleb Williams is ready and absolutely good. Like.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good.
He's got to be Stroud, right? Doesn't he have to be Stroud?
He does, and the refrain, which is like the trope, is best setup ever for a rookie quarterback and everything. Yeah. Well, it warped my brain. Good job, guys. Good job.
Well, your brain. I think people who watch this show regularly would already have an opinion about the warpedness of your brain, but that's why we love you. I've got a question from Andrew Younger in the chat. Do you find yourself evaluating teams differently when you're handicapping versus when you're evaluating for fantasy analysis? Jim?
Yeah, I do. Just considering different things, like just considering how good the team is. That really doesn't have that much to do with fantasy, right? I could go
Yeah.
to a bad team, the Raiders, for example, and still try to dissect things and try to figure out, like, is there something past Devontae Adams that I could find? But whereas in terms of the overall win, I don't have as nearly as much things to read there. So it's just a different read, completely almost.
It is a different read. I'll say a little less completely for me, only because it's funny. Before we hit the button to go live, we were talking about Seattle's early season schedule, and as soon as you start talking schedule, I go I do the Kramer, and that is definitely true for the way I think about fantasy. I'm really trying to make schedule that quarterback had a great schedule. I just don't think we know nearly enough. And I have to admit, when I'm doing this, when I'm looking at team totals, I know what division they're playing. I know what they're in. And I know generally a sense of, you made a great point when we were talking earlier. We should have hit record earlier. That was my fault. That quarterbacks, there are some quarterbacks that are pretty good, and good quarterbacks tend to be hard to beat, and that matters for the purposes of this. So schedule does matter probably more for this, but I am steadfast in my belief that we know so much less than we think we do about the quality of teams, and I'm already questioning whether I know enough about the Raiders to know whether they're good, let alone whether in week 5 that opponent is going to be hitting a high. I just feel like that's 3 levels away from me being able to consider that. So I guess if there's any overlap, it's trying to make schedule matter as little as possible.
That works too. Also, I think the connection you're making too between in season, the idea to be agile, I suppose. In season, when I start seeing something, not to say that the first 2 weeks, there's my confirmation, right, but to be open-minded, to say that I think you can if you're willing to adapt in fantasy, particularly, you're going to do well. So. Right.
All right, so we'll be here for a little while longer. So thank you for the question, Andrew. Long time listener, Andrew. Thank you. And Dave will tell us your questions if you have any more. I'll do my second pick for the team totals, and I feel pretty good about this one too. As good as you can feel about NFL future bets. I feel like, maybe there's not tons of value. The lines tend to be pretty sharp, but I like Tampa Bay under. I'm being negative on these first two. Tampa Bay under 7.5. You're nodding. Is that ringing a bell for you?
It's just interesting because that's a team I looked at because last year I had them as my under, I was like they're the worst team in the NFL, and it was 6.5 was their over, and they make the playoffs and they have this Baker, renaissance, and it's the market's still one win. So it's just interesting. It's just
I'll say
the whole division's tight, right? The whole division's 7.5 to 9.5 or 6.5 to 9. Yeah,
they're very they're the same. It's the exact same team. The only difference is Dave Canales isn't there calling plays, and that was kind of what, maybe what Baker Mayfield responded to.
He's hot Shane Steichen. Yeah,
he might be. He might be. Well, so my thought, honestly, it's kind of thinking about the Seahawks of last year, because 2 years ago the Seahawks were supposed to be terrible. We have the Geno Smith renaissance.
Interesting. Yeah, it is like that.
And we get the bigger team total, and Geno Smith kind of turns back into Geno Smith. And I kind of feel like the Buccaneers a little bit did it with mirrors last year. And mirrors tend to, not be a good enough reason the next year. So I kind of just don't believe Baker Mayfield's really a thing in the way I didn't really believe that Geno Smith was a thing. And the Seattle receiving core, the deep receiving, it's some overlap where you got the tall, fast guy, you got the shifty, good-handed slot guy. There's some thematic resonance there for me. And then you can speak about the defense, because I'm sure you've had to talk some about this Tampa defense, but are they down to 2 guys from that Super Bowl now?
Yeah, it's all eroded. It's all gone. Antoine Winfield is the obviously the highest paid safety in the league, but also that came at the expense of no safeties. No corners, nothing like that. Also, Todd Bowles, not known for a man to adapt to things. To talk about, he's kind of Todd Bowles every year. So yeah.
All right, so I'm under there. We got another question, and Jim, you can tell me if you're ranking, because I am ranking all the time. So this is from TJ Joaquim. I hope I said your last name correct, TJ. I just watched the top 10 running back video, which if folks are watching this live stream after the fact, I'm sure Dave Pyper will put a link to go also check out the top 10 running back video. And I didn't have Ken Walker in my top 10. Walker, a flag player of mine last year. And so TJ is wondering where I have Ken Walker for this year. Do you have ranks, Jim, that you're sticking to? Are they making you do them at ESPN?
I don't have ranks. I mean, I did put some together for some drafts that I have coming up. I have a draft with Jake Seeley this Saturday, but
I knew that actually. We just talked to Jake about that. Yeah, cool.
Walker is not in my top 10. I can say that. But he's in the fun side of the dead zone. Like I think he's talented. But I also have issues with like just the fact that there is a cap. Like if Charbonnet's there is just a not even artificial. There's just a real workload limit, like or whatever role limit. But he's good. He's talented. Again, it's Seattle. Like you talked about it before. Like I don't know. It's not that special to me. Like so, he's RB 15 maybe RB 16.
He's 16 for me. And he's a little lower than that in a full PPR because I do. They generally tend not to throw it to him. He's right there with Devon Achane, but just a lot less risky. So if you're at that point in the whatever late second, or you'd rather be early third, and you're looking at the likes, I mean, Achane probably gone by then based on mock draft we did last night. But if you're thinking safety, I would probably think Walker. Yeah, I think you're right that Charbonnet is. Everybody's got a second running back there, but everybody's second running back isn't as attractive as Zach Charbonnet. He is,
and it's a great saboteur name. It's just like it's so good. Like,
Sabcav. He's a good player, and so is Ken Walker. And Ken Walker's a home run hitter, and I don't think there's a way that you don't get great peaks. So like best ball ranks, I think you'd think maybe Walker goes a little bit higher than that. The second part of TJ's question was favorite breakout rookie. Do you have a favorite breakout rookie? And you can't say Marvin Harrison.
Breakout rookie. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I think no, I don't have a breakout rookie. I mean, no. What's the Texas running back? The running back. I know his name. I've been drafting him ever. Jonathan Brooks. I like Jonathan Brooks. Even with one leg, I think he's gonna have a great year. So.
Okay. It's funny, we did a mock draft on the channel that I'm sure Dave is also now linking to in the future, in which I got Jonathan Brooks in the very last round of a 14-team draft. So very, very late. I would certainly take the chance. I don't think in most drafts he's going to – the bots were staying away from Jonathan Brooks for some reason.
But Scott Fishbowl, pretty deep. I mean, I got him in the 9th round. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. He's kind of forgotten still, even by nerds. So,
do I have a breakout rookie? I'm just the dude who doesn't draft rookies at their ADPs. I'm not really looking at the market yet because there isn't a market. It's all fake. If you're looking at ADP right now, it's based on 4 drafts. The drafts are all going to happen in the next couple of weeks, and then they'll start, and then we'll be able to look at value. But I'll say maybe one of the Patriot receivers as an absolute just like total throwaway flyer 14th round type guy. Javon Baker sounds like the big play guy, and then Jalen Polk sounds like the possession pro. Everybody at Patriots training camp is now calling him Jacoby Myers. He reminds them so much of Jacoby Myers, and we all understand what that means. It's valuable, but not gonna knock your socks off. Usually it doesn't lead to massive production, but where I want to look for rookies is going to be on teams that people don't want to draft players from, and I want them in the 14th round. I'm so much trying to go counter to the market late in drafts and get big playing time on supposedly stinky teams, just in case we're wrong and they're not so stinky.
So you don't want the 8th round Lad McConkey where he looks like Rick Moranis in Spaceballs, like with the huge helmet.
I do not want him, and I do not want Marvin Harrison apparently at the end of the 1st round, and I don't want Malik Neighbors in the 3rd or the 4th round, and I don't want Rome Odunze at all. Like I don't even consider him like a top 50 receiver. I don't think for this year. So yeah, the rookies are. I don't have a great candidate for a breakout rookie right now. All right, we have 2 more teams to get to. Who's your next team?
My team, because again, I had the Raiders on here, but I wanted to be a little spicier because I wanted to have a little Schadenfreude in my life, and it's the Cowboys. Under.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, look, this guy's hammered really hard. It's actually, so I don't want to mention other sites, but on DraftKings, it's 10.5. So the under is pretty crazy. It's juiced to 180.
Oh wow.
So you're paying quite a price to get the under here.
You also can tease it too. You can tease it as well.
That's the other thing. Yeah. You can tease it, and you can go to 9.5, which I've seen people do. And I don't think it's crazy to assume this is a 9-win team, and then you're betting even. You're close. I think it's like plus 105 even. But the point is, they didn't do anything. I get that, the stalemate. It's not the running back thing. It's none of that. It's really just that I think the NFC got a little bit better. Their schedule is pretty tough. I think the NFC East it's pretty gross. But at the same time, I think this team is right around a 9-win team, a 10-win team. So this line is great, but I just want to root for the under. And 10.5 is high for this team. It's not a automatic double-digit win team. They're also older, and they didn't really. I know they didn't add anything. Also, I don't think the Zimmer thing is going to work. I think that matters. I think bringing out Grandpa Zimmer is not great for a defensive coordinator. So,
well, Jim, if they win like only 8 or 9 games, Mike McCarthy better watch out because he could get fired in 3 or 4 years.
He could. Yeah. He might end up on like Fox Sports 1 in 7 years. So watch out.
Indeed. Well, that's a bold one. I if I was on anything, I think I would be the under, but I am scared. I think they're good. Right, it's just a question of those 3 or 4 close games. Do they win them or do they lose them? Which is probably true in general of all NFL teams. So my third NFL team total that I want to play and will play before I leave for California because I can do it in Massachusetts. It's the Arizona Cardinals over 6.5. I think the Arizona Cardinals are okay. I mean, you can tell me about the defense. I blinked a little bit and thought that Jonathan Gannon had gotten some guys on defense, and then it turned out the second half of the season they were an absolute disaster, the worst in the league, and I was just foolish and wrong. But I like the skill position players. I like this feels like a okay 8-win team to me. I would have set this line at 7.5 and not 6.5.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would like this over too. This isn't one of my picks, but the thing I like about to speak to the defense thing, they tried everything. They didn't have the personnel last year.
Yeah,
but they just did try everything, and there's something to be said about like how creative and aggressive Gannon can be. And we have seen him have success before. I mean, obviously with the Eagles, but even prior to that in his career, he's had success with different defensive rosters. I don't know. I still have an issue with their defense, but I completely agree. What were they, 3-4 or 3-5 with Kyler?
They're
kind of a normal NFL team at this point, and they're being treated here like that they're in like the subterranean part of the NFL, which they're not.
Yeah, I don't think they're like a bottom 5 team anymore. I don't look at the roster and say bottom 5 team. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you I'm Ross Tucker and can break down every lineman on the team, but they sure do have a lot of big names. They have a lot of first round picks. They have a lot of dudes who seem like they should be able to play, and I guess it does come down to believing in Kyler Murray enough, and I think I do believe in Kyler Murray enough. Not too much of what happened with Josh Dobbs should apply here. He was not good. He was spunky, but he was not good. So that's my last one. All right, we have one more question before we get going. From A Tribe Called Monroe. I'm in a 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, 1 tight end, 2 keeper, 12-team league. My goodness, that's a lot. I have Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown, which basically means, hey, I'm keeping 2 Lions. Am I crazy to take Sam Laporta with the second pick of the 3rd round and really, really emphasize Lions over the likes of Devontae Adams, Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, Deebo Samuel, etc.? Would you allow yourself, Jim, to get that heavy with even what figures to be a pretty good offense?
Well, I mean, Laporta's great. I guess at that point it comes down to what he believes. Like I would base it on who you think the best available player is right there instead of this whole Lions-centric thing. I don't hate the stack. I wouldn't avoid it at all because of the concentration. You're concentrating on a great offense. Yes, bad weeks might afflict you, but it's not your entire roster. Like, it's a big portion of it. It's dangerous to have that much in there. I would say take the BPA. So whoever he thought that was, of those names he listed, I would have a couple of them over Sam Laporta, for example.
Me too.
So I would do that.
Right.
And not, but in terms of his team alignment thing, I wouldn't let it be a big factor. If it was the best player, I would take him. If it's not the person I think is going to produce the most for me, I get the positional thing, but even then, I would wait and do Trey McBride or something. I don't know. I don't love it. Yeah.
So I'm just not going to take, if Laporta, say, I don't, because it's a keeper league, maybe other tight ends are kept and it feels like he has a little more extra value. So I can't say exactly, in your shoes, exactly what I would do. But I'm sort of with Jim that I wouldn't let team be an absolute, the question was, are you crazy? It isn't crazy. It definitely makes you a Lions fan. It definitely makes you believe that this Jared Goff better not get hurt. But it's not your entire team. Just as you're making the argument that it's, we've been at ESPN. We were at ESPN together for a long time. We were having these conversations in rooms 20 years ago. I'm capping my upside and I'm also making my floor nice and safe since someone's always going to score. And then you get into the season and it doesn't actually work out that way because one of the guy gets nicked up for 4 weeks and then the other guy comes back and then David Montgomery accidentally falls in the end zone 4 times and it won't work the way it won't work the way it sounds. So I wouldn't let the team part of it be the reason. And I can't tell you that you're crazy to take Laporta there because again, if he's the only good tight end available, I get it. But yeah, if you look at my ranks at harrisfootball.com, you're going to see Laporta much lower than several of the players there.
Plus, Sam Laporta sounds like one of the great meat purveyors of North Jersey. It's a great name. It really does.
All right, we have one more. I lied. We have one more question from Josh Mann. Situation aside, how close do you think Ramondre Stevenson and Brian Robinson are as far as their ability? I've spent the summer watching film on these doofuses for the Almanac. You want me to weigh in first?
Yeah, please, because I don't want to say it and then the smart person says something next. Yeah.
Both definitely bigger backs. Trust Ramondre's hands more than I trust Brian Robinson's hands. I think they're in the same phylum. I think they're the same kinds of players. They're giants, but their feet are better than you expect them to be for their size. They move laterally. They don't have multiple cuts in a run, but they have one cut where you go, okay, he put 1 foot in the ground and was able to change vectors while moving pretty well in a way that A.J. Dillon, Roshan Johnson, David Montgomery, your average big guy just doesn't have. Does that make them electric? It does not make them electric. But when you've got the combination of the mass to score short touchdowns, but then also you're not going to make your coach totally annoyed by running into the pile, only getting what's blocked, etc. I think they're a nice comparison. Who would I rather have on a team? Situations totally aside, who would I rather have on a team? I think I'd probably say Ramondre, but I don't think it's like a total no-brainer. And of course, once we're starting ranking for fantasy, we're trying to make situation matter as little as possible, but hard to ignore the mess that the Patriots have wrought, which is, maybe why Robinson gets a little closer. But yeah, I think it's a nice comparison. I think, NFL-wise, they're pretty close. Do you disagree with anything I said there?
I think they both have had dinner with Antonio Gibson, probably, right?
Absolutely, they have.
And then Antonio Gibson
made an Antonio Gibson like a voodoo doll.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Austin Eckler showed up and was like, "Don't do that. I'm already injured. Don't do that." So yeah. In fantasy, I think of them similarly too. Not to joke about that, but these 2 down guys who have to get their work done on those kind of isolated roles, but talented. But I would also take Ramondre too, and even in that context, because I think he's more explosive and just more proven at this level. So
yeah, I would. I definitely rank Ramondre higher, even with the situations. But I also just want to say, I was pretty hard on Brian Robinson as a rookie because I just thought he looked awful. But of course, he had been shot in the foot, right before the season, literally been shot in the foot. And I called him the bathtub on wheels during his rookie year. That was his nickname on the podcast because once you, it's the Jeremy Hill thing, right? Once you get going one way, it doesn't change. And it's a great discovery last year to find out he's more than that. He's definitely more than that. So,
and he did more in the passing game. I know it was rare, but he had a couple of big plays. So yeah, maybe there's something there.
Right.
So.
All right. So to sum up, Jim, your 3 team totals are
the Colts. I like the over. I like the Bears. I like the over, and of course, I love the under on the Dallas Cowboys. So
okay. I'm going to say the game totals just because that though.
Oh, so I'm sorry. Colts over 8.5, Bears over 8.5. And the boys under Cowboys. 10.5 wins.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to be Raiders under 6.5. The juice there's plus 110. Buccaneers under 7.5. The juice there's plus 125. And Cardinals over 6.5. That's the bad juice on DraftKings. Maybe you can get that somewhere else. Don't go somewhere else. Minus 150. That's not great. the over for the Cardinals does seem to be gaining. But again, tease it if you want to give yourself a little wiggle room and get them at a higher number if you believe in them. We want to thank DraftKings very much for sponsoring. Again, use that code HarrisTube. It does help us out if you're looking to open a DraftKings account, watch some Olympics, get ready for some NFL. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Jim, did you enjoy the live stream?
I did. It worked well. I saw your guitar. You're not sweating anymore. It worked.
I really am not. I just came from softball. I did just come from softball, so that's why the hat. Thanks everybody for coming and watching. And if you're watching after the fact, thank you for being here. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button. Write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.